Hey everyone, I'm doing a follow-up video on my previous videos when it comes to psychological torture and the psychological warfare. Now, 3 months ago, I made a video about the Ukrainian connection within the US and all that good stuff. And it's funny how all the Democrats were involved. Hunter Biden, uh, Biden's son, was involved within the Ukrainian energy sectors of Ukraine, where they were taking in billions and trillions, probably trillions of dollars from Russia or different governmental bodies that they were able to entrap and launder money using energy uh, fractions of the Ukrainian government. You see, it's really fairly easy to launder money when you're head of an energy uh, department in the Ukraine or any other country, because you can easily launder money that way, because 90% of the population uses electricity. Now, I want to do a follow up on what I was talking about earlier. Is that it's very funny how everything came together, how I was able to predict a bunch of Stasis, Nazis running around in different fractions of counties and Democratic counties, as well as universities, to target anybody with specific information, because Biden and everybody within the Democratic Party were using the Ukrainian government to launder money from China and everywhere else into the US to fund their criminal organizations and everything else. So that was a good prediction. I was able to trace everybody's um, psychological torture and everything else right back at them. And it's fairly interesting how they operate. Now, I did build this truck camper right here. I put a little bed in there, and I have a lithium battery. I did quit my job because it was extremely stressful, and I couldn't take it anymore. It was just way too stressful. So I built this little camper, and I'm sitting at the beach right now. Very peaceful. Um, Mainly, I built this thing to get away from everybody and be always on the move, to avoid these people coming after me and everything else. And if I lose a job, I can always get on my truck camper and move along to something new in life. I can always purchase a house, but then that would give them an opportunity to come after me, to destroy and get me to go bankrupt. So this is just like a safe little haven I built. I got a little table here on the side, and then on this side of here I have all my kitchen equipment. I like to breathe free a little. I got a little um, air vent here and another air vent on the top there, right there. And I have my binoculars here, and I keep my eyes on anybody approaching me or anything like that whenever I'm far away as possible. So everything came in straight, squared away with the Ukrainian Stasi networks inside the US. Now, it's coming out that the UN is involved. The UN, George Bush Seniors, and I sent a secure encrypted message to a couple of people stating that, there's people inside the Pentagon trying to infiltrate and destroy the US, and they did a really good job at that. They took trillions of dollars and before 9/11, and it went straight into the international bankers' pockets and international logistics for their war on the oil market in the Middle East for the Israeli mafia. as well as the entire UN criminal organization. It's a collaboration of criminals internationally. Very, very interesting information. So, what's next to come is leaks within the UN operatives inside the US, taking your sovereignties away. UN specialists, psychologically specialists from international organized criminal organizations inside the US, not only to infiltrate but to destroy any influence or freedom related topics within the US. Now that sounds extremely complicated, but it's very simple. Their main objective, I would say, would be taking over the border. They created an international crisis of mass migration so that they can blame the, the U.S. border patrols and defense, as well as the presidential administration, so that they can have UN personnels oversee the migrations policy and how they get inside the US. They want control over the border, not the National Guard. They want the UN at the border, because that way they can control who gets in and out of the country. Now, Utah is slowly finding out what the Democrats did on their hometown. Utah have a headquarters of the UN where you're not allowed to record, speak, or do any sort of freedom related actions inside their building. You have to follow UN laws inside the US in Utah. And disorganized groups of people are all over, not only in Utah, but they have buildings everywhere in the US. And you have to follow UN laws when you're inside those buildings, inside the US. It's their compound, it's their building, it's their rules. They can claim to be an international private compound working within international laws inside the US to operate, train, and infiltrate educational institutions and claim to be a private educational institution, just like the Federal Reserve is a private entity who's not allowed to be overseen by the Treasury or Congress, because they're a private entity. So they're trying to infiltrate the US using private property rights. Basically, you can claim that your private schools or colleges that you pay for is a private compound of the UN, meaning so that way you're paying to be brainwashed. You see where it's all this coming from? You see how everything is interconnected with one another? Dissidents are extremely dangerous to this organized international criminal organization inside the US. It could be blacks, it could be Hispanics, it could be a brown person like me. I can be labeled a rapist, a criminal, a sexist, a Nazi, a Muslims, anything that they can use to pressure, radicalize, and destroy that person, to protect their criminal organization and infiltration and destructions of the U.S. All the mass shootings happened for a reason in the U.S. Every mass shooting that happened in the U.S. was to destroy any sort of influence that comes within the U.S. constitutional rights. They don't want immigrants coming in the country and being influenced by the Constitution. So that way right now they're using racism, peer pressure, women's rights, and everything else to always see any constitutionalist as an enemy, a criminal, a rapist, or a sexist, or anything else. The label of dissidents are extremely huge right now in the US. And as you can see, I'm not allowed to have any sort of social experiences or any sort of relationships, and to submit to their control grid of mass manipulation and hijack of the US. I have to submit to their little satanic organized groups of international global takeover. And I have their master plan and everything else, and they're not happy about it because everything's connecting. Everything's always connecting. Every information that I publish became true because it's true. I'm not allowed to say everything at once because I would sound like a crazy person. So I'm giving out little by little. So that way it's validated and it's true information. So that's a quick update. Right now I'm living on the back of my truck. Right here at the beach. Once you hit rock bottom, you can do anything in your life. You're free to do as you wish. These people, they don't know that. They think that I'm gonna go haywire, that I'm gonna submit to them. No, 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 that's not how this works, son. I can do anything I want in my life now. I have no shame and I don't care what others think. And that's an update of what's happening right now. Everything that I say became true. The UN was involved. They're using every organization right there to expand and always be on demand for mass brainwashing, mass takeover, mass everything. And I'm gonna release more videos later on their ultimate plan, what they're trying to accomplish with this new world order, and how George Bush Sr. was extremely fascinated by the founders of the UN and where they came from, who financed them, how all the ex-SS officers became internationalists and experts on the financial sectors of the entire global financial and import and export sectors and laws, and how they're trying to implement UN laws to override sovereignties of nations to have access to resources, to have an international global socialist financial takeover of everybody's life, as well as control over everybody's information so that there's no challenges or dissidents against their systems of control. That's an update right there. That's a huge hint of what's about to come, what's unfolding on the corners of our masters right now that nobody's paying attention to. All the information that I have been publishing has been validated so far, and you can look in between the lines and you will see the truth. That's the update for today.